Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of mine, and this time I'm back with And the Haze Will Take Us, Season 1, Episode 6. Y'all, I'm kind of addicted to it and extremely petrified of the storyline at the same time. So I need to know what the fuck is this voodoo bullshit that her sister's bed suddenly or miraculously was put into our room again, and our sister told us to shut up. No. Various spirit beacons for you to follow, but where will it take you? Y'all, imagine a ghost telling you to follow them. This scene contains a description of animal sacrifice and scenes featuring a child in the Episode 6, the first step. Varia's ashen skin was dark against the hazy night, its color erased by death. Simona took cautious, uncertain steps, sleepily following her sister's figure. Varia's slim hair practically covered her face as she glanced over her shoulder to make sure that Simona was following her. So it was actually our character seeing that. This is all kinds of wrong. Simona wanted to scream, call out to her, ask her to stop, but there was no air and there were no stars in the sky. Her legs grew heavy, clumsy, and her feet sank into the ground as if walking through a swamp. Something was holding her back. Simona suddenly became afraid that she would not return from the otherworldly darkness. Varia stopped and looked at her sister. Her lips weren't moving, but Simona heard a whisper in her ear. Y'all, what the hell? I'm petrified. Like, what the fuck? Sleep is also death. Varia walked on, and Simona had no choice but to follow the path laid by the dead. What is that? Isn't this Volot's house? Varia stopped in front of her house and stared at the window with a glassy look in her eyes. Sister? The door creaked open. The priest's tall figure appeared on the porch. I was about to say, why did Varia bring me here? Get Volot's attention, hide so that he doesn't notice you, just watch. Honestly, I would want to get this man's attention, but I have the feeling that's not what our sister wants us to see. So, let's just go with, hide so that he doesn't notice you. Simona stepped into the darkness, hiding behind a tree. You don't trust the priest and you're afraid of him in your dreams? What the fuck? No. This is not what's gonna happen. No. This is a dream? We're in a dream? Are we in some state of between life and death? Okay then, hold up the fucking phone. No. Immediately repeating the episode. Immediately. Alright. Get Volot's attention. Simona waved her hand. She stepped a little closer despite the fact that her heart fluttered in fright next to Volot's imposing figure. Can't he see me? You trust the priest and aren't afraid of him in your dreams. I'm not afraid of him. Like, I didn't know what that was supposed to mean. Like, I thought that our sister literally, we are awake. Like, our sister kind of was capable to wake us up. And now she's trying to make us see something that we shouldn't. But, like, it's her being, let's just say, on the other side. But because of the connection that we have through our birthmark, we're the only ones that can see her. But she has like her foot on the other side, and we are still in the world of the living. So I thought people could still see us. That's why I was like, let's hide, because maybe she wants us to see something specific. But apparently, we have like those vivid hallucinations where this is technically really happening, but no one is actually seeing what's going on but us. So it's like our sister's spirit reached out to us, and right now it's like we are in a state between life and death, sort of. Like we are with our foot on the other side, and that's why it's like the people in the world of the living can't see us. Volot walked right through Varia, and then ignoring Simona headed towards the forest. Varia floated after him. The dirty hem of her dress was dragging on the ground. Y'all, like, or poor sister, like, honestly, like, imagine she was killed just for some personal vendetta, and now her soul cannot be put to rest until someone figures out what happened to her. Simona swallowed the bitterness of sorrow and regrets, and overcoming the resistance of sleep ran after them. The priest's figure was barely visible through the thickening fog, which seemed to be rising from the ground and slowly spreading around. The sky was overcast with heavy leaden clouds, but not a single star shone even in the patches of clear sky. Simona followed him breathless, without a will of her own. Yeah, I feel like our sister is pulling the strings, because we would be vulnerable in, like, this state. A quiet but insistent whisper had wormed its way into her thoughts. Follow him. The priest moved smoothly, as if gliding over the ground. His footstep made no sound. Simona felt a call, an invisible thread that pulled her deeper into the heart of the forest. The tree branches intertwined, forming an airy blanket that even blocked the moonlight. Only the fog flickered, and that flicker enveloped everything around, making it seem like reality itself was blurred and melting. The priest kept walking, his figure appearing and disappearing in the thick fog. What are we supposed to see? There were strange sounds around, first distant screams, then the rustle of someone's invisible footsteps. This place has a life of its own. Yeah. I don't want to continue. This is fucking... Y'all. Why did you want me to continue the story? Y'all, I'm gonna get nightmares from the story, I feel. Simona shivered and turned around wearily. Something ancient was watching her every move, lurking in the depths of the darkness. Suddenly the priest stopped. The fog parted, revealing a small clearing illuminated by an unnatural silver light. Ooh, in the center of the clearing there was an ancient stone circle covered in strange symbols. The Alatir. Excited, Simona rushed toward it, but stumbled and fell. She felt neither pain nor the fall itself, and immediately scrambled to her feet, staring at the stone wide-eyed. Aren't these the symbols that Volot has on his chest? The priest turned to her, and Simona saw his face almost entirely hidden by the skull, deep, inscrutable eyes reflecting the dark vastness of the forest. I'm sorry, is this, like, actually happening right now, and we're kind of, like, just viewers of what's happening? This is not, like, a vision that our sister is making us see, right? This is actually happening right now. Simona felt an invisible force enveloping her, draining the last remnants of her will out of her. The fog was getting thicker, enveloping her in a dense cloud. The forest sounds grew closer, yet the priest in contrast seemed to be getting farther, moving away faster and faster. Simona reached out to him, but touched Varia's cheek instead. Her sister's face was right in front of her. A scream caught in her throat. I wasn't capable to stop myself from screaming. Like, that last scene actually killed me. Y'all. That was jump scare. Normally, I am all in for, like, scary movies, but, like, this jump scare, no. I prefer to know where the danger is lurking. Varia opened her lips so wide that her jaw ripped open. A harsh, lifeless voice rang out from the gaping black hole where her mouth had once been. Oh my god. Find it. Find what? The stone? Simona woke up drenched in sweat. The first thing she did was look around. Varia's bed wasn't there. Simona ran her hand over her face and hunched over on the edge of the bed, breathed a sigh of relief. It was a dream after all. But it was Varia who showed it to me. Honestly, I don't think that this was a dream. I feel like ever since we decided to step into the world of priesthood, and they finish like this supernatural ritual and whatever, I feel like we are connected to the afterlife, sort of. Like, for those that watch the Vampire Diaries, like, I'm still reacting to it, like, for those that have seen it on my channel yet. But I've seen a few videos, and Bonnie becomes an anchor to the other world, I feel like. And that's why she's capable to see and like talk to the world of the living and the world of the dead. Is this kind of what's happening to us? Like, the second that you actually are willing to commit sacrifices in order for like the gods, you kind of gain like access sort of to their power. The Aulita. I thought it was just a legend. Is it really out there in the forest? And the priest knows how to find it. Simona dressed quickly. With a scarf. Fine fabrics. Flower girl. I can't. Go with flower girl. I don't know. Or maybe... I don't know. I feel like flower girl would be more like me. But you know what? Let's go with this one. I'm gonna go with this one just because of the tiara, but... Simona smoothed her dress. A thought crossed her mind. She might have dressed too nicely, and she felt embarrassed as she imagined people's possible awkward reactions. Usually it was Varia who dressed up, and Simona wore something suitable for grazing sheep and lying on the grass, so that she wouldn't have to worry about ruining expensive fabric. But now she had to interact with people. Or maybe Simona wanted to impress. Oh my god! All 5! Volot, Oza, Dragan, Tata, Shirin... The villagers, bitch. Don't be playing me. Right now, it's a mixture between Volot and Dragan, because I feel like... I said that so many times. In my eyes, only someone extremely pure-hearted is capable to give out that much negativity. And just because someone actually is closed off and doesn't know how to interact with his emotions doesn't mean that his emotions are bad. Like, that he mostly is intact or connected to his negative personality traits. But not everyone is capable to, like, actually connect with their emotions. So you know what? I shunned Dragan last episode, but in my eyes it was like mostly anger because of the way that he behaved, and it was fucked up. But in my eyes, give someone the benefit of the doubt. Just because he's behaving like a bitch doesn't mean that he can find like a way to redeem himself or something. So Dragan. If you met her on the way, would he think that she was no less beautiful than Varia? You'd like Dragan to admire how you look. Not just him. And I hate that they're immediately making us like choose. Like, in my eyes right now, it's a mixture between Dragan and Volot. Ozar is too creepy for my liking. Like, I'm sorry for those that really appreciate Ozar. Like, if you want, I could even do like a replay and do Ozar's version, but if you want my personal opinion, Ozar is not doing it for me. Simona's cheeks heated up. She shook her head, banishing those awkward thoughts. Why would I want that? Are you dumb? Her knuckles drummed against the wood. There wasn't an immediate response, and Simona shifted uncomfortably from foot to foot, questioning, turning over in her mind. Finally, the door opened. Volot paused on the threshold and gave her a sharp, expectant look. Hi. What? Did he feel us? I need answers. Simona was slightly taken aback and stood there with her mouth slightly open, trying to think of something to say. Oh, wait. Didn't he say that we shouldn't come back there? The priest got impatient and asked hazily, why are you here? Yes, Simona, why are you here? The priest sent me. I want you to teach me. Volot shut the door in her face. Simona flinched at the noise and closed her eyes. I shouldn't have been so blunt. But that moment passed and Volot decided to relent. He opened the door again and stepped aside. Come on in. This man. By the way, I think I know how I'm gonna speak them. Like, I'm gonna give Volot the voice that I use for Greg in Heaven's Secret Requiem. I'm gonna give Ozar the voice that I use for Man Kane. And I'm pretty sure it was also Amrit. And Malbonte, I feel. And I'm gonna give Dragan the voice of Aemon. As soon as she entered, Simona looked around as if she could find the stone she'd seen in her dream. Sirin was nowhere to be seen, and Simona didn't ask about her. As usual, it was dark and cool inside the room. So you want to learn about the priest's craft? Yes. And find out what secrets you're hiding. Damn! Last night I dreamed of the Altir. Volot tilted his head, his eyes boring into her face. So what? You were there. Holding her breath, Simona watched his reaction, taking in every tiny movement. Sometimes it's better to be honest. Someone else's truth might also come out easier this way. In my eyes, at least be honest. Like, you don't have to tell me everything, but at least tell me then. I don't want you to know about this. Or I don't trust you enough. But don't be lying to me, telling me that you don't know what I'm talking about, trying to make me seem that I'm crazy. You trust the priest, so you decided to speak openly. For the first time, she managed to get some kind of reaction from the priest. He looked somewhat surprised. Simona found confirmation that her dream hasn't been an illusion. Yeah, the Volot really knew what that stone was. Isn't Altia just a legend? That's right. Uh-huh. He's lying. The father to all stones. I know what they say about the altar. So what? That's supposed to be a message from the gods written on it. That's what they say. Are you kidding me? Me! Yeah, like a bitch. If that's all, let's begin your training. Volot walked past her and disappeared into another room. Why would he hide that he knows where the altar is? What's written on it? Is he also like the only one that can decipher what's written on it? Because right now I just see symbols. Simona smoothed down her dress once again, went over to the bench, wanting to sit down, but hesitated and returned to the threshold. She felt uncomfortable in the priest's house. Her heart quickened at the realization that she had managed to get involved with those mysterious and dangerous people. Finally, Volot returned dressed in his ritual clothes. He held a bowl and a sack darkened by soaked blood. Sit down. Simona sat down on the bench. Her hands lay limply in her lap as she timidly waited for the instructions. She wanted to shrink under Volot's scrutinizing gaze. You might get dirty. Don't come to look at me like that. Ah, don't come to me looking like... He paused, frowning, choosing his words. You won't be able to wash off the blood, no matter how much you scrub. You'd better change your clothes. I'll be careful. He looked at her outfit one more time as if trying to fix in his memory how clean her clothes were and only then nodded. The priest turned the sack upside down. A hairy carcass rolled up to her feet. Simona stifled a scream, even though it wanted to burst out with a painful spasm. Everything inside her was repulsed by that sight. She was used to taking care of animals, not raising a knife to strike them. Even if she'd already taken a life once, the hare's corpse left deep scarlet streaks on the floor. Simona suppressed her revulsion and asked in a strangled voice, "What am I supposed to do?" "I have to get used to seeing blood. This is the priest's duty. Skin it. The tools are on the table." He put the skull on his head. "What about you? He knows how to do it." She felt like biting her lip when she heard the pleading in her voice. The priest seemed to have heard it too, because he took a moment to answer. Eventually, he said tentatively, almost gently, "I'll be right back." Once she was alone, Simona jumped up and pressed her face against the window. She wants to leave. She watched as the figure of the priest moved confidently towards a wall of fog. Once he crossed the border, he didn't stop and moved further on. The mist quickly swallowed his silhouette. Volot disappeared from the view. What's out there on that small stretch where the haze still spares the priests? Is he not afraid to go there? His strides were long and his gait confident, as if were not danger lurking. Why did he go there? Simona returned to the bench, thinking back to her dream over and over again. I should look for answers next to Volot. Veria showed me the way for a reason. She looked down, fixing her eyes on the stiffened body of the hare. Skin the animal. You have to. Simona took a deep breath. I can do this. I can do this. She went over the table and picked up a flint knife. Its blade, sharp but rough and with uneven edges, was speckled with dark spots that could never be washed away. They were the marks of past deeds. Simona sat down on the floor. She felt more confident that way, and for some reason calmer. She held the carcass over the bowl with unnecessary gentleness. Gentleness? That's already dead. I can't change that. It's not like you would hurting it more. She gripped the hilt so hard that her hands trembled and then sighed again. Let's get started. Poor her. First she ran the knife along the hare's neck, cutting through the skin. The sharp flint blade sliced smoothly through the animal's body, making a clean cut that became jagged as her hand suddenly twitched with nervousness. Alright, what's next? Simona took a bone awl. It's thin, sharp, and easily pierced through the flesh, helping to separate the skin from the muscles. She slowly pulled off the skin, cutting tendons and ligaments with a needle to make it easier. Her trembling fingers were sticky and blood got under her fingernails. When the work was finished, she hurried to put everything in its place and remove any trace of what had happened. Plunging her arms in the water up to her elbows, Simona caught herself thinking that it turned out to be easier than she'd expected. I guess I'm really getting used to it. I mean, of course, we wouldn't be happy about doing what we're doing right now, but we decided to do this, and this sadly is part of our duty, so we have to. Suddenly, the muffled but no less desperate cry of a child came from behind a closed door. Are there children here? At first, Simona did nothing. She was a guest, so she didn't dare go where she wasn't supposed to, but the screams continued. It sounded as if a boy was being tortured, cut, and skinned as Simona had just skinned the hare. What are they doing here? She began to feel uneasy. She stepped closer to the door and pressed her ear to the wood. Beside the child's screams, there was another voice, calm, quiet, and a little commanding. His sister. Yes. Sirin? Simona carefully opened the door a crack and looked into the gap. Through the flickering candlelight, she saw a bunch of dried herbs, strings of dried mushrooms, and amulets woven from twigs and feathers. Exorcism. On dark wooden shelves, there were clay vessels filled with strange tinctures. Didn't she just say she shouldn't go where she wasn't supposed to? And in the middle of all that chaos, there was a boy on the table crying and wringing in pain. He was trying to wrench free of his mother's embrace. Tears in her eyes, she was holding him still on the table, not letting him get up. He was kicking his feet, wrapped in worn-out bast shoes, and shaking his head, unwilling to swallow a mixture being given to him. He had beads of perspiration on his forehead, and his skin had a sickly yellow hue. He was thin and wasted by disease, his bones sharply sticking out. Ooh! Syrian managed to pour the potion down his throat, but it was so disgusting that the boy immediately curled up into a ball and spat everything out. Let's try again, Agya. But he's sick. Do you want him to give up his soul to the gods? I'm begging you. Open his mouth. He needs to drink it, but considering it's disgusting, like this is sadly what happens when you're young. My mother needed to tell me that so many times. I thought she hated me. Like, she told me to drink, like, medicine, and especially, like, the liquid medicine. It tasted so disgustingly that I would always spit it out. And she would always tell me, Simona, it's not supposed to taste well, it's supposed to help. But when you're a child, you don't want to drink something if it doesn't taste well, because you kind of have the feeling, like, I don't think we as children think that much about it, but we feel like it's some sort of food, you know? Like, we don't keep anything inside that isn't tasty in our eyes. But medicine isn't tasty. Medicine is supposed to help you. So it will always have, like, a strange taste. So this child, he doesn't like the taste of the mixture, so he keeps on spitting it out, but he needs to swallow it. Choking back tears, Aika wrenched open her son's mouth. Syrian poured the potion down his throat again, then batted his mother's hands away and covered the boy's mouth with her palm so that he couldn't spit it out. The child thrashed harder, but Syrian held him tightly and didn't let him escape. The boy had no chance but to swallow it. He immediately went limp and lost consciousness. His breathing grew slower, more even, and his face took on a peaceful expression. What's wrong with him? He's sleeping. Syrian held up a candle to him. The weak flame flickered and trembled, but continued burning despite the gust of wind that came from nowhere. He'll live. She gave the woman several bottles of murky green liquid. Add this to his water every morning and every evening. Make sure he swallows it. It's actually kind of crazy, if you ask me. Like, people be calling her a witch and just like a bad person, but the second that something awful is happening, like, they immediately go to her. Like, they seem to trust their loved ones with her life, but still consider her a witch. Syrian wrote something on a piece of birch bark and handed it to Aika. Sew this up in a piece of cloth and have him wear it around his neck. Aika took the birch bark and threw it at her feet without even looking at what was written on it. I won't do that. That's an incantation for him to recover quickly. I won't take this from you. I'm too scared. The mother lifted the sleeping child in her arms and pressed him to her chest. Gently rocking him, she spoke to Syrian, and her voice was full of venom and sharp contrast to her tenderness for her son. If you did something bad to him, the gods will punish you, witch. Syrian responded to her words with an indifferent look, wiping some spilled potion off her hands with a rag. So be it. The woman went out the back door. I'm sorry. You came to me. What the fuck do you think you are? Who do you think you are that you can come in here, expect my services, and then insult me as if I would have, like, killed your son? You came to me for a reason. Or did Syrian drag your son here? Syrian put down the rag and walked over to the table, which was left in a mess. She was turned with her back to the door so Simona couldn't see her expression. Tense after what she saw, she watched as Syrian tied bunches of herbs, removed scattered coal and sulfur, and put a dried bat wing and some snake heads on a plate. Without turning around, Syrian said, Well, come on in then. Don't just stand there. Caught red-handed, Simona took a step back. I didn't want to bother her. Enter. We're gonna enter. Simona opened the door all the way and, no longer hiding, boldly entered the room. I heard the screaming and decided to see what was going on. I'm sorry if I disturbed you. That's alright. There were herbs, roots, and potions everywhere. Hair, skin, snakes, and mole paws, and hearts. Hedgehog spines, bat wings, heads, and skins. Oh, that was everything. Oh. Oh. But there were even more candles in that room. Wherever Simona looked, there were a few of them scattered around. Simona looked at the table where the boy had been writhing a few moments before. What happened to him? He ran into the forest and got lost there and dragged from a swamp. He almost died. Have you cured him? I did everything I could. He should take medications regularly. Siren didn't look up diligently, putting things back in their places. Both women were embarrassed by what had happened, waiting for the question hanging in the air to find its answer. Simona made up her mind and asked cautiously, Do they always treat you like that? Yes. Siren looked at her. She knew Simona would ask something like that, but the way she did it surprised her. Simona's question was not driven by idle curiosity. On the contrary, it was filled with sympathy and understanding. Simona didn't ask why they treated her like that, or what Siren did to deserve that. It was as if she had immediately taken Siren's side. For some reason, it was hard for Siren to answer. Her tongue moved reluctantly as she managed to say, People are ungrateful. They're blinded by fear. Then why are you helping them? Because she's a good person. Wouldn't you? That. Like, she's a good person. And in my eyes, you never ever listen to gossip. Because gossip is like, I don't know, let's say 5% the truth and 95% mixed with the opinion of other people. It has nothing to do with the real source. That's why I don't listen to gossip. And I would assume that they just think that she's like a bad person. And so she's pictured as the bad person because she's having like those sacrifices. Like we see like all those heads in her office and like all those herbs. So she gives off the vibes of like a dark witch. So they immediately fear her, but the second something bad happens, people come to her and she's like, okay, I'm gonna help because she knows who she is. And even though no one believes it, she's not gonna do anything to encourage people's negative thoughts or dissolve them. Because in her eyes, a lot of people already made up their mind in this country or like in this small town where they settle down. So she's gonna be who she has always been, which is a good person wanting to help people. And that's it. Like, she's not gonna enforce someone's thoughts. If an animal bites me, I will still treat it kindly no matter what. It simply doesn't understand. But people, they are no different. Treat them like animals and you will come to love the whole world. I'm afraid my heart isn't that big. Are you sure? You can measure someone else's heart, but not your own. Wow. That's interesting, actually. That's interesting. Like, especially like the pure-hearted ones. I did say it so many times, like, if you are extremely pure-hearted, then you would immediately feel that you aren't good enough because of all the negativity in the world. People would be like trampling on you. They would shrink you down. And you would always believe that you aren't enough. Like, your pure heart would suffer a great hit because of that. So you, as the pure-hearted person, you mostly go around seeing like how big someone else's heart is. But and that's why you're also capable like to give out like good advices. But the second someone like asks you still have the tendency to kind of talk badly about yourself. And this is so sad, but it's so true at the same time. Like, that actually took me off guard. Like, we can measure someone else's heart judged or based by our own vision, but we can't judge our own heart because our heart is always like we can't really speak badly we can't speak good about our hearts. Like, because of all that negativity that we've been through. Sirin sounded detached and even cold, but Simona realized it wasn't about her. It wasn't. Sirin was used to living as a hermit with Volot, rarely speaking with people. Simona knew firsthand what it meant to feel that you do not belong to the community. Sirin finished cleaning and turned her attention back to Simona. Why are you here? I was skinning your hair to get used to seeing blood. So you're going to be a priestess? I guess so. Simona noticed that Sirin was looking at the candle as if counting and checking that all were lit. Can I learn from you too? If Sirin can tell by looking at a candle that a spirit is wandering next to me, then I could do it too. But her request angered Sirin. Stubbornly pressing her lips together, she said, Let's get out of here. Does that mean no? It means you're sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Simona regretted asking that careless question. She wanted to get closer to her. Honestly, I feel she's a good person. You're interested in Sirin? Yes. Like, I would love to get closer to her and learn from her craft. Like, what I wanted to say before. Like, we can't really measure our own hearts because the darkness of our past actually usually has a pure-hearted person view their hearts, or in general like themselves, more negatively, and the person that actually looks at you like from the outside, they have like more of a neutral view of yourself and of your personality, of your heart. So they have like a different view. You, considering the fact that you always took like those negative hits in your past, you will always kind of feel the need to kind of talk down on yourself and diminish the pureness of your heart. Sirin opened the door and waited for Simona to leave. That's rude. I don't think it's a bad thing that she asked that. But maybe Sirin is like that pure that in her eyes, if we would actually learn from her in a craft, people would try to shun us too. And she doesn't want that for us. So she's like, what are you even saying? Be silent. Because like we saw the mother, like Sirin helped her and then she said, you will be punished by the gods if something happens to my son. Like, the heck. They bumped into Volot returning from the fog. The priest frowned as he noticed them coming out of the room together. Hi. Where have you been? Instead of answering, the priest asked, Are you done? Sirin pursed her lips but replied, Yes, everything's alright. Sirin looked down at Volot's shoes and Simona did the same. They were wet with lumps of dirt sticking to them. Where did he go? What was he looking for? It was clear from Sirin's expression that she was thinking the same thing, but she didn't say anything and went back to her room. Simona was watching her thoughtfully when the priest's chilling voice rang out. You're still here. I skinned the hair just like you asked. I saw it. Good job. Something in her heart leaped with joy, but Simona suppressed that feeling. She didn't want to admit that the priest's approval made her so happy. No, I would have said it because we are like a beginner. And in my eyes, it takes time in order like to adjust to a new reality. So if we actually just started something we have never done before, and in the eyes of someone that has been doing this job for like, 20 years, is actually approving of our sloppy job. I mean, we did say that we were trembling the entire time, then this is a huge ass compliment. Volot appreciates your effort. You're welcome. That's not enough. I have to find out what Volot is hiding. Teach me. Volot looked at her warily and even condescendingly. It was as if he realized what she was up to, and her attempts were futile and pathetic. All right. Without saying a word, he put his skull on his head and went toward the door. Where are we going? No questions. Following. The priest led her to the chicken coop, picked the largest rooster, and headed into the forest. It's so beautiful. All the way there, Simona silently tried to keep up with his long stride. When they arrived, they were greeted by the old priest. Will the young priestess join us today? Simona looked at Volot questioningly. Yes, she's going to help us. Both priests fell on their knees before the idols and bowed their heads, whispering prayers. They appealed to the gods, lifting all the despair of mankind from the bottom of their souls. Their low, hoarse voices sounded rough and melodic at the same time. Simona also fell to her knees, obeying a silent, omnipresent force. Standing towering over someone much more important would have been blasphemy. The young priest stopped praying, but the old one kept going. Volot took the rooster out of the bag, roughly squeezing its neck so that it wouldn't escape, and handed it to Simona. Kill it. Simona bit her lower lip until it hurt. Trying not to look into the bird's fearful eyes, she grabbed it by the neck. I can do this. It felt easier to kill a rooster than a piglet, and even easier than skinning a hare. It seemed that the bird didn't even realize that it was in pain and dying. Volot took the limp rooster from Simona's hands, and leaving a trail of blood, laid it at the foot of Perrin. Why didn't we just change our clothes into the one we were wearing last episode? Volot turned his head slightly towards Simona and said firmly, in a tone that would accept no complaint. Repeat after us. The priests touched their foreheads, and Simona did the same. Her hand moved to her left shoulder, then to the right shoulder, and then to her navel. They drew to rune of power and the rune of Soilo on their bodies, as if protecting themselves. With that gesture, they ended their conversation with the gods. Meanwhile, the blood spread over the stone and nourished the soil, and when the earth absorbed it completely, the sun appeared from behind the intertwined branches. It sparkled, unexpectedly bright and warm even for spring. Volot stood at the sacrificial stone, and his face, almost completely hidden behind the skull, remained impenetrable. Yellow reflections danced on the mask, highlighting his severe features and creating an ominous halo. The old priest also remained motionless. The three of them stood looking at the sun, caressing the tops of the trees, but a moment passed and the bad weather swallowed the celestial body once again back into the abyss of darkness. The rays faded on the fog, covered the light again. The old priest took off the skull and approached Simona with a faint smile on his lips. Frightened eyes, don't be afraid, rejoice. Oh, he looks cute. People are afraid of us, but they don't need to be. An interesting path lies before you. Thank you. Simona felt inspired. The old priest supported her. Come on. Volot walked past her without waiting and disappeared behind the trees. Run next to him. No evil spirits will harm you. Next to Volot, I'm not afraid of evil spirits, but of him. Are you serious? Then we just have the conversation, but besides fear, she felt something more. You don't realize it yet, but Volot excites you. Oh, we knew it the last episode. Desire flickered up. Now all of a sudden she's scared of him again. Are we serious? Simona smiled at the old priest and hurried after Volot. This man literally zooming away as if it's the easiest thing in the world. Can we smack him? The priest had finished lighting some logs, and now a small fire was warming them. Its flames danced in the forest twilight, dispelling the shadows and drawing patterns on their faces. Without looking at Simona, Volot spoke calmly and slowly about the meaning of each gesture and about the symbolism of fire and sacrificial meat, putting the carcass of the hare on an improvised spit. You eat meat knowing that it was killed for you. The gods need blood. We offer sacrifices and get glimpses of their power. Someone's death brings about something good. If you're afraid to get blood on your hands, then you are afraid of the gods' blessing. Simona was fascinated, despite herself, by his words, confidence, and strength. She watched his every move, feeling the heart skip a beat in a mixture of fear and admiration. The priest's attention never wavered from his duty. His expression remained cold and distant, but it was that detachment, that indifference to the world around him that attracted her in some strange way. I mean, normally it's not really indifference. When you have seen so much bullshit in your life and to a specific degree. We humans, we all have like our morals. And there are a lot of people that say like, I can't kill something or someone because you treasure life. So when you come to the point where you actually have to choose between your morals and doing something for the greater good, you kind of give up your humanity because your morals are kind of connected to your emotions. You have a lot of compassion. You have a big heart for animals, for example. And when you then are like placed in front of a choice where you have to choose whether you starve yourself and your entire city, or you sacrifice those animals and you have blood, even though you treasure animals with your life, then you give up kind of your humanity. You give up on your morals in order to do something for the greater good. And that does something to you. And I would agree with the term detached. This man has become cold because of all the awful things he had to do, and like seeing all the people that he used to care about like just kind of go away from him, like move away in fear or recoil in fear, and them like treating him differently after what he is doing or what he had to do. That kind of made him grow cold, distant, and detached from his emotions. Like, because if you are extremely connected to your emotions, the opinion of the people you care about actually truly worry you. Like, you truly care about the opinion of the people you care about. But when you become detached, or when you grow detached from your emotions, you tend to only see your own opinion as important. But that doesn't mean that the opinion of someone you truly care about can't become important to you again. Like, he just didn't really see a reason to actually allow himself to feel again. For him, it's easier to be cold and detached because every single human being is the same when it comes to him. They ignore him, they grow distant, and then they slowly like fade from his life because of what he's doing. Or just in general, like after they found out what he's doing. She found herself yearning for his attention, for their eyes to meet. He slowly turned the spit, and the heat from the fire warmed his hands, weathered and roughened by endless rituals. The meat was given off an appetizing scent that mixed with smoke, filling the air with an aromatic smell. Volot's every move was precise and deliberate. He was closely watching the meat change its color. There was doubt in his eyes, reflecting the flames, but Simona didn't know the reason. When the meat was cooked, the priest looked up and his gaze lingered on Simona's face for a moment. Simona felt a shiver run through her. She was both scared and fascinated by those piercing eyes. There you saw the power of the gods firsthand. You saw the price we had to pay. Once a month we perform special rituals where we have to sacrifice larger animals. Can you handle seeing a river of blood? It's not just about the sacrifices. You walk in the haze. Is that what you want? To go there? She heard a suspicious note in his voice. I want answers. Then you should go to Oza, not me. Simona looked down. But the dream was about you. Volot handed her cooked the meat. She thanked him and took a few pieces. She felt the priest's gaze and sensed a suspicion, but at the same time she felt strangely calm. She knew that she was safe with Volot. Something in her heart told her that the priest was willing to risk himself to protect her. Or maybe she was just foolish woman. It was a wishful thinking. No, I think you're confusing Volot right now with Ozar. Because he did just say, I'm not willing to sacrifice anything. Volot, on the other hand, will. Soon Simona said goodbye to Volot and went to see Tata. She really didn't want to go home. Simona knocked, but no one answered. She decided to peer through the window, but couldn't see anything through the thick linen fabric. Where's Tata? Simona decided to wait for her and sat down on the front steps. A feeling of helplessness was swelling inside her. She wasn't sure that becoming a priestess would help her find answers to her questions, but what else could she do? That was right, the mystery of Aria's death will remain unsolved. All important things are done by the priests, but they won't share their secrets. So I have two options: to continue living my life and stay in the dark, and remain a sheep walking along the road paved by the shepherds, or to become a shepherd in the human world, a priestess, and lead the flock. Knowing the way ahead, knowing the secrets, answering questions, not asking them. Simona put her head in her hands. Her excitement ended as quickly as it had started. But how long will it take before they let me in on their secrets? How long will I have to kill animals and watch life drain from their bodies? Or is there nothing but cruelty and hope behind that aura of mystery? The fact that people are mysterious is because in their eyes, there is no need to fuel anyone's curiosity anymore. Mystery is created because someone is detached. And when do you become cold and detached? When you have seen so much awful shit that you decided to close yourself off from humanity. That's mystery. What if the priests are the same scared sheep walking ahead, but still looking for a shepherd who will bring them home? Simona remembered Oza's offer. You spent the night with me. Maybe Volot is right and only Oza can give me what I need. He could ask the gods. Path of the Haze. Simona frowned, feeling the futility of her hopes. The gods. Everyone relies on them so much, but the gods could use some help themselves. Ooh, they're dead, or almost dead, and they take so long dying. Why would they help the living? But the price the Magus is asking. Spend the night with him? No, never. No way. Simona felt the anger that had not subsided since her encounter with the Magus rise again inside her. Oza is sure that I will have to accept his offer. She got up, accepting the fact that Tata wouldn't return. I'll talk to the Milan. I need his advice. Simona walked down the familiar path leading to her friend's house. She knocked and the door creaked open. Milan's parents weren't home. They were probably still busy trading and weren't back yet. Milan, can I come in? She was met with silence. Where is everyone? Call out? Milan? She peered into the darkness of the room and noticed a figure running out the back door. Simona became anxious. She decided to walk in and check if Milan was all right. Simona noticed a female silhouette quickly disappearing into the yard. Milan got out of bed, embarrassed and scarlet with shame. Excuse me? His tousled hair was sticking out from his head and his eyes were scared and ashamed. This man said... He said, I'm having a one-night stand. Okay. Simona was no less embarrassed because this is actually like the walk of shame that woman just did running away. Sorry, I'm leaving. Simona didn't finish the sentence and hurried to leave, but Milan jumped out of bed and grabbed her hand. Wait, please wait. Looks like I came at a bad time. Me. It scared me. I thought it was my parents. Simona wanted to say something, but realized that she didn't know what exactly to say. Any question or comment seemed horribly inappropriate right then. Was he with a woman? Did you expect him to be with a man? I mean, I did kind of ship him and DRAGAN, not gonna lie. She felt like an inexperienced child looking behind the curtain of another world that she had yet to enter. Sit down, don't just stand there. Malin began frantically searching for the rest of his clothes, patting the furniture in the semi-darkness. Are you alright? No, he not. Something about his nervous movements and wandering gaze told her that Milan wasn't upset only because of her unexpected visit. Admitting defeat, Milan sat down on a wooden chair, his shoulders hunched, and looked at Simona. Everything comes at a price, right? His words troubled her. Volot had said something similar just earlier, and now Milan. Is this a sign? It is the will of the gods. Isn't that what they teach us? Why are you asking me this? Mylan sighed and looked out the window. Is your heart still heavy? Simona took a moment to reply, listening to her own breathing. It was steady and confident. Yes, there was still sadness wound into her chest, pulling her shoulders down, but the pain had dulled. She had the strength to carry that burden until it lessened and faded away, leaving behind a small scar that would only bother her during bad weather. Thinking that her silence was the answer, Malin continued. Do you remember how we loved to play by the river? Of course I remember. Do you often think about Veria? Constantly. Veria loved you very much. Simone also looked out the window. She did. She really did. Veria had managed to convince her sister to join the group. Simona knew everyone by sight, but some names had gotten lost in the labyrinth of her memory. She was mostly silent and spoke only to Mylan and Veria. Want to try some? Mylan handed her a mug of home-brewed beer. It's bitter, but it makes your head feel light. The main thing is not to overdo it. Then it will be exactly the opposite. The beer will seem sweeter than honey, and your head will feel heavier than a stone. Thank you. Simona had never tried alcohol before. After taking a sip, she started coughing to Mylan and Veria's laughter. Not so fast. Do you like it? I don't know. You look tipsy already. Mylan burst out laughing, good natural patting her on the shoulder. Mila leaned against the table. Her face was flushed, but she still looked lovely and fresh. Simona, will you really be joining us? I won't be staying long. She replied colder than she should have, sensing that their conversation wouldn't go well. Come to Vacantis. Here we go again. Simona had long stopped attending such gatherings. She found them boring, and everything she tried to do never turned out quite right. She has no talents. That's all right. We don't just spin and embroider up there. We also tell folk tales and stories and sing songs. Or are you busy with shepherding until late? Mila looked at her so kindly that Simona felt ashamed of the resentment she felt toward her. What a hypocrite. That's right, it takes a long time. Did you put the sheep to sleep? Layla's voice was gentle and friendly, but that didn't make her words any more pleasant. Silly, they don't need to be tucked in. She meant it as a joke. Simona, tell me, do you tend the sheep in those clothes? That's why it smells in here. The girls laughed. Veria sprang to her feet in sudden anger, anticipation of her sister's reaction, and hit the table with her weak and delicate hand. Stop it. Don't you dare treat her like this. Veria, we didn't mean any harm. Why are you getting so angry? Because you did mean harm, you little bitch. Veria was on friendly terms with everyone. Surely those girls considered her a good friend, and yet she put them in their place quickly and harshly. The meek and humble Mylan didn't hold back either. He slowly got up from his seat and said, slightly stumbling over his words, Your words are full of venom. A kind person shouldn't say that sort of thing. Mila smiled and Layla grimaced, not hiding her disdain for him. Well, bitch, you can go. We didn't want you here. Bye-bye. Before the argument got worse, Simona stepped over the bench and about to leave. Where are you going? What should I say? Speak up for yourself more harshly, more soft. No, harshly. Because we're a bitch. I'm going home. She gave the girls who were staring at her a sharp look. I'd rather be among simple sheep than a foolish flock of chickens. Ooh, I hate to hear your clucking. That was her saying, like, you say that you hear yourself talk. I only see bark, 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 bark. Layla clicked her tongue and Mila laughed. They're funny. Come by more often. Shut up, Mila. Ooh! Simona. Oh, Veria. I'm fine, really. I'm so sorry they were so awful to you. It was the beer, honestly. They're not as bad as they want to seem. They can behave as they please. I don't care. But thanks for standing up for me. Let me come with you. No need. They hugged and Simona hurried to return to her familiar world. This is so sad. But Varia must have asked Dragan to accompany her as he caught up to her a few minutes later.
You're leaving already?
He wasn't looking at her, but staring grumpily at the horizon. Feel free to tell Varia that you walked me home, but I'd prefer to be alone.
And if you don't make it there, what should I say?
What could happen to me? Honestly, they behaving like husband and wife. Honestly, at this point, like Dragan and Simona and Volot and Simona, both of them, like they kind of give off those vibes. Like there's like I feel like giving out venom that is trying to hide the desire that they have for each other, sort of vibe. He stopped and grabbed her arm abruptly. He lifted it slowly, forcing her to stand on tiptoe. What are you doing?
Many people got drunk out of fear, of boredom, and end up wandering the streets. What if you meet a drunkard? What if he decides to bother you?
Simona jerked her arm free. You're that drunkard right now.
Don't worry, you'd be the last person I want to bother.
What did I say? Like the second someone hurts their feelings... Exactly this. I know how much you dislike me. I feel safer without you. You only attract attention with your screams. Ooh. She was upset and she wanted to say some nasty things to him, but all she could muster was, and you reek of meat. Damn. Without waiting for a response, Simona strode off, and Dragan didn't try to catch up to her. I mean, this bitch is doing this every single time that they get closer to each other. Simona shook her head, chasing away her obsessive memory.
We haven't spoken to various friends since.
Neither have you.
I never liked them.
Mylon. And then Varia started spending more and more time with Tata. I thought she was the same, but she turned out to be nice. Mylon shook his head, then jumped to his feet and sat down next to her.
You know.
He fell silent. His voice sounded strangled, as if he was holding back tears. Are you upset about something? Mylon suddenly hugged her. Taken aback, Simona could only look at the top of his head pressed against her chest.
I believe you'll find out soon enough. You'll find out what happened to Varia, and it will be easier for you to let her go. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What? Mylon misses her too. He's always been so sensitive. Simona patted his head awkwardly. I'm sure I will. Mylon let it go and sat away again, embarrassed about his behavior. I think it was cute. They talked for a long time, recalling the past, but avoided talking about the future. My mother said that you had an argument with Dragan. What happened between you two? Mylon had just calmed down, but at those words he became anxious again.
That's not true.
He blurted it out in a surprisingly desperate voice.
That's not true.
Mylon pushed back the curtain and looked out the window. He's afraid to look me in the eye. Yeah, because the fight was about you, probably.
My parents will be here soon. Won't your father worry?
And now he's kicking me out? What's the matter with him? Simona decided to deal with it later and headed for the door. In the end, I never asked him about the most important thing. What should I do? Let Oza push me around so that he can ask the gods for help? Mylon?
Yes.
Would you do anything for a loved one? A shadow crossed his face.
Anything.
Thank you. Simona left Mylon's house with an even longer list of questions in her head. Is this her saying that she's gonna sleep with him? Because if this is where the story is going, I don't want to know. She returned home and went to bed but couldn't fall asleep. Mylon had encouraged her to consider Oza's offer again, and now she was tossing and turning, feeling that she was on the verge of some kind of reckless decision. The Magus is the type who does whatever he wants. He will reveal secrets to me faster than Volot or the priestess. But what does his offer to spend the night with him mean? She swung her legs off the bed, touching the floor with her bare feet. If I don't go, I won't find out. Go to Ozar. Simona dressed quickly and went quietly downstairs so that her parents wouldn't wake up and find out about her midnight escape. I'm petrified that I will regret what I just did. Approaching the Magus house, Simona became nervous. Why am I doing this? This isn't like me. She stopped and took a deep breath, trying to calm down. I can always leave. I mean, we do love to inspire jealousy in this show. Because right now I feel like this is a telenovela, so it was dangerous to be out at that hour. But it was even more reckless to visit Oza when he might be resting. What if he's not alone? But something told her that the Magus wouldn't mind her nighttime visit. On the contrary, he knew that she would come. Simona entered quietly. She stopped at the closed curtain, listening to the silence of the house. Her heart was pounding in her chest, responding to her agitation. He was there behind the curtain. She could almost feel his presence. Should I leave? Leave before he finds out that I was here?
How much longer are you going to just stand there?
He already knows. Yeah. Simona drew back the curtain. She tried to ignore the trembling of her hands. Honestly, if someone would be saying this to me, I would run away. Like, if you don't want something from me, like, you could come to me, but I'm not gonna remain. First of all, Simona looked around the room to make sure that Oza was alone. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw that he was lying sprawled on pillows, looking at her. But she still didn't dare to look back at him.
I've been waiting for you.
I see.
You dressed up so nicely, and now you're embarrassed.
Oh, I shouldn't have tried so hard. Yeah.
Take a seat, I don't bite. Would you like some wine?
At first, Simona wanted to refuse, but she decided that the drink would calm her nerves and nodded timidly. She heard the splash of a poured drink. Thick drops hit the bottom of the mug with a soft twinkling.
Here you go.
Without looking up, Simona took the mug from Oza's hands and drank a small sip. The wine was sweet but had a bitter aftertaste.
Do you like it?
What is this?
Apple wine.
Oza turned the mug in his hands, looking inside.
The apples were cut into pieces and then put in a wooden barrel and carefully crushed to the extract to the juice. The juice was left to ferment for a while and then filtered. The process was repeated a few times, so that you and I could enjoy it after a little while. So that your sweet face would heat up and the fear would disappear from your eyes.
Oza was in no hurry to do anything, and Simona didn't know what to say or what to ask. All she could hear was her heartbeat. I forgot why I came here. What did I expect from this meeting?
Look at me.
Simona froze. What do you want from me? Her chest tightened with anxiety. His request was so unexpected that her breath caught in her throat. At last, she forced herself to look up.
You worry too much. Please don't be afraid of me. I'm glad you came.
Simona licked her suddenly dry lips, which didn't escape Ozar. You said you'd help me if
you spent the night with me.
He leaned forward, elbows on his knees.
Is that what you came here for?
His face was closer now, his eyes suddenly studying her greedily. She forced herself to sit still. Simona licked her lips nervously again, and only then noticed that Oza's eyes dropped to her mouth when she did that. She resolved that she would never do that in front of him again. I'm here to fulfill my part of the deal. He smiled as if he'd been waiting for that answer and leaned back again.
So you will stay with me all night?
Oza was stating that rather than asking. He knew that Simona wouldn't leave. That having made up her mind, she wouldn't run away. What are we going to do? She restrained herself from biting her lip. Her question suddenly seemed naive to her and also encouraged the Magus to act. But Oza's answer was surprisingly short.
Whatever you want.
Shall we go to the gods so that you can ask them what happened to my sister?
At night? I'm afraid that's not a good idea. If you have no other thoughts, let me take matters into my own hands.
He rose from his seat. Simona jumped to her feet. What do you have in mind?
I would like to ask you the same question.
The Magus moved slowly around the room, not taking his eyes off Simona. He was like hunting wildcat preparing to pounce.
Why are you so scared of me? Why are you so reserved, so unapproachable?
Because of your bitch-ass attitude. He said the last words with special pleasure. Yes, I'm scared of you. She decided to confess and suddenly felt confident. I'm a regular woman, and you a man, a Magus. I won't have the strength to fight you back. You're stronger. You see into the future. You have the favor of the gods.
Why would you need to fight back? I'm not going to try to take something from you that you wouldn't want to give me willingly.
Okay. That's an answer that I wanted to hear. Because you see, this man loves to play with desire. So, considering the fact he always gets what he wants out of women, which usually is them like sleeping with him or making out with him, whichever way you want to look at it, he got used to it. So he always expects women to want that from him. So he automatically, at least that's what it shows, he expects women to give that to him. Like, and so when he said spend the night with me, usually that means having sex. Okay? And it's not like he would expect someone not to give that to him, since he's used to it. So that was like the fear I had. This man saying, yeah, you spent the night with me, and I'm asking the gods to tell me what happened to your sister. But now he gave an answer to that question. Okay. Can I trust your words?
You can trust his words.
It looked like Oza had grown weary of playing games as he suddenly broke eye contact with Simona and walked past her. Despite feeling relieved, she also felt a painful, inexplicable disappointment.
We're going to do something now.
Simona didn't see his face, just his back and his slowly moving elbows. He was doing something. Once again, she found herself filled with fear and distrust toward him. What does he have in mind? She decided that she wouldn't let anything bad happen and that she would find the strength to defend herself if she had to. Those thoughts comforted her. Her innocent eyes filled with fear and curiosity followed his hands. Finally, Oza turned back to her. His room was dimly lit by just a few flickering candles. He stood in the darkness and only his mocking lips were illuminated by a silver of light. He had a small bowl with honey and herbs in his hands. Oza met Simona's eyes with a warm smile.
Don't be afraid.
His voice was deep and soothing.
This ritual will bind our souls for the night.
What for? She involuntarily lowered her voice to a whisper. She had no courage left to resist his charm.
Maybe then I'll be able to see your future, and the gods will heed my call more willingly.
All right. Simona wasn't afraid of rituals. She felt relieved, and now she was eagerly awaiting instructions. Oza hesitated, noticing her enthusiasm. He smiled wearily, and then the bitterness of his grin turned into anticipation. Simona grew suspicious. What do we have to do?
You'll see.
He took a step forward. The candle fully lit up his face.
Don't move.
The magus scooped some honey. It ran slowly down his index and middle fingers, coating them. He put them to her mouth and ran them over her upper and lower lip, almost caressing them. Simona didn't move, struck by Oza's attentive gaze. He was staring straight into her eyes. She wanted to know what he was thinking at that moment. Was his heart pounding as fast as hers? Then he looked at her lips. Lick your lips. Honestly, like that would be what I would be doing, because I can't stand like feeling that something's running down my lips. No, I need to get rid of it. So I would either use my hands or my tongue. Simona ran her tongue over her lips innocently, licking off some of the honey. She immediately blushed, embarrassed. Was she provoking him? She no longer knew.
Does it taste good?
His voice grew hoarse, its formed confidence and calmness lost. Yes.
Now it's your turn.
What, I need to do this to you too? He handed her the bowl of honey. Simona dipped her fingers in the viscous liquid. Should I? Oh, I was waiting. She pressed her fingers to his lips. Her heart fluttered as she felt an aching pull in her lower belly. Simona didn't know men's lips were so soft. Oza smiled and she felt his lips moving under her fingers. Sorry. Simona hastily spread the honey and took a step back.
Now eat this.
He handed her a piglet. She couldn't recognize the plant. She was so nervous that she didn't ask and followed the magus' gentle order. Oza repeated after her.
And now?
He brought his face close to hers. Simona was afraid he was going to kiss her, but for some reason she didn't step back. But Oza didn't do what she expected and only whispered in her ear.
You're part of my world now, maiden. You will learn the secrets that are hidden from others, I promise you.
You've become much closer tonight. Okay. This is actually so surprising. His words were like a spell weaving around her mind, filling her with awe and anticipation. Simona knew that she would never forget that night, that ritual, that man who was a hunter, a magus, and her mentor. He smelled the honey and herbs of addiction and temptation. That's a nice combination. Like, I kind of have a pleasant feeling about Ozar now. Even though he's still creepy, but I'm not wary about him anymore. When Simona opened her eyes, Ozar was standing at the window.
You still have time. You can rest now.
What are you going to do?
Wait for your future to find me.
Simona lay down on the pillows strewn all over the floor. They were so soft and comfortable, more comfortable than her bed. This is so bizarre. She watched Ozar, who seemed lost in thought. Exhaustedly by anxiety, her body involuntarily relaxed, and soon she fell into a maze of dreams. The last thing she saw was the profile of the magus staring thoughtfully at the horizon. Simona opened her eyes. Her heart immediately sped up. She remembered where she was and was shocked at her carelessness. Ozar was sitting in his seat, looking at her. It seemed as though he'd been watching her for a long time. He'd been guarding her sleep, examining her face, stripped of all mask.
Good morning, maiden.
How long have I been asleep?
It will be dawn soon.
Already? She pursed her lips in annoyance.
You were so afraid of this night, but it flew by, right? I'll walk you home. It's better if no one finds out that you have come to see me.
Simona had not yet recovered from the ritual and her dreamless sleep, so she silently followed the magus. I'm so surprised. They walked to her house in complete silence. Simona was ashamed and embarrassed, but she didn't understand why. And she was also nervous. She gave him a few intense but quick glances. When she did it again, Ozar suddenly looked at her, making it clear that he knew she was watching him.
Don't worry, we didn't do anything wrong. On the next night, I will see your future.
Simona couldn't help smiling. I'll be looking forward to that. Ozar stopped at the door and looked at the second-floor window. Sleep well. After all, I hope that my future will be good.
See you soon, Simona.
Simona didn't go inside right away. She watched his figure slowly disappear into the fog. Simona suddenly felt proud that the magus himself had walked her home and that he'd spent his precious time on her. The unreachable, elusive magus. But she immediately suppressed that feeling. It was a strange ritual. How many women have gone through that with him? She felt uneasy. She turned around and hurried to her room. Simona awoke from a gentle touch. She opened her eyes, and it took her a moment to realize that her mother's worried but bright face was hovering over her. Mother? Come quick, this nightmare's over. What are you talking about? The murderer, the brute, revealed himself. It wasn't the Haze that killed Varia, Simona. What? I knew it. I knew it? I knew that the Haze had nothing to do with it. Who did it? Her mother's face twisted in pain. Come on, you'll see for yourself. What? Simona pulled off her nightgown and hurriedly put on yesterday's outfit that she had thrown on the chest. She had a bad feeling, but she didn't yet know how right she was. What? I need some... Oh my god. The whole village has gathered near the wall of fog. Simona ran through them, but began to slow down when she saw that all heads had turned in her direction. Something is wrong. Oh my god, that outfit is so beautiful. Something is very wrong. The crowd parted and she saw her sister's killer. His hands were tied and a trickle of blood was streaming from a deep cut over his brow. Someone must have already thrown a stone at him. The killer looked up at her apologetically. What? No. Y'all, I'm in shock. Mylan killed her. I did think he was behaving strangely when we went to talk to him. And he kept on saying, I'm sorry, as if he felt guilty about something. Not because he actually missed her. Not that I'm saying that he doesn't, but... What? Mylan killed her?
I'm sorry.
What? What? Y'all, have you all watched this episode already? Have you played it? Like, please tell me how you reacted when you saw the... What? What would be... Hold up. DRAGAN and Mylan fought. Could it possibly be that DRAGAN suspected Mylan? And that's when Mylan and DRAGAN fought. I mean, I don't want to put anything like a past Mylan, but in my eyes, he did have feelings for our character. And maybe he couldn't stand it anymore that everyone kept on like looking at Varia instead of us. He couldn't understand it. So in his eyes, maybe. Like, I'm just putting here a view in here. Like, you can tell me what you think. In his eyes, it was like the best decision. Like, if Varia is gone, like the attention immediately would be drawn to us. And then we would finally get the attention that we deserve. And we never got, because Varia sort of like always got like the attention and everything. And DRAGAN kind of suspected Mylan of it. And that's when Mylan and DRAGAN fought. Y'all, I'm shocked. Mylan killed her. Okay. Like, y'all, I don't have anything else to say about this. Like, I hope you enjoyed this video with me. Tell me in the comments below what you think was best, and I will see you in another video. Bye.